Everyone has their own journey. This is mine. For this one, I've even got some props. If you're new here, my name's Zen. I'm a creative from Glasgow, and this is the first log of documenting the building of the Infinite Peace Journey, my creative brand. This isn't the fast food content that you would consume on TikTok or Instagram Reels, where a lot of the techniques that are put in place are just to get someone to stop their doom scrolling. Just imagine, right? An office worker with a lanyard on, they're in their office, they go for a break, they're likely vaping, which is how the world is. And they're glued on their phone while they're taking a draw or two of their vape. They just need something to give them a bit of break, a bit of rewards for 2 hours of having their thinking ability almost snatched from them and put completely into whatever job it is they're doing. And whatever content that they're scrolling through, that's been designed just to get that person to stop the scroll after probably already swiping 15, 16, 17 times. You lose a lot of authenticity with the content itself if you're thinking about putting a lot of those things into those techniques. I find with YouTube and the longer form stuff, you don't have to put a lot of the fancy edits and that in. If the substance is there from what you're talking about in the content of the video, do you really need to have all those flashy things popping up on your screen? And then sound effects and hooks and everything else. Everything that I know all too well as being a short form content creator. And this is my attempt at transitioning to becoming more of a long form content creator, which is probably the dream for me, from when I first started to make content. The idea of being a YouTuber appealed to me way more than being a TikTok content creator. I know what I'd pick. And even though YouTube can be seen as more old school, it's the one that's more satisfying for me. It's the one where you form much more of a deeper connection with the content creator that you're seeing in a way that probably cannot be done with short form. You can feel free to challenge me on that, but you're probably not going to change my opinion on that. You might not watch this all the way through first time. You might not even watch this at the time that it's uploaded at, but for me personally, it's important that this video is done in the way that I want it to get done. I'll start by answering the question, how was it I got into the online creator thing? Now, I and many others thought it started with this Huawei P30 Pro. This thing with its beast of a night mode camera. And honestly, legitimately, it still amazes me to this day. You know when I can point this, take a night mode photo, and what I'm seeing on that screen is brighter than what I'm seeing in real life? I never get tired of that. This is the phone that I take all my night photography with. And this is where I made a bit of a name for myself with night vision. But actually, I have to go back way further than that. I have to go back to school. So when I was around 14 or 15, that's when I started to get into football, which is quite late for someone looking to get into playing football. And you might be asking, what was I doing at the ages of like 5 or 6 or 7 when normal kids start playing football? Now at that age, I was glued to a screen. I was either on the PS2 playing Gran Turismo, or an old version of GTA, or Need for Speeds, or whatever else tickled my fancy at the time. At that age, I was never really into any physical activity. I never learnt to ride a bike, and I wasn't really playing football that much, apart from maybe kicking a ball about here and there. But when I started to play in around 4th or 5th year of school, I really started to love it. I feel like I was making up for a lot of lost time. I was quite terrible, if I'm being honest. Attackers would fear me as a defender. Not because I was a great defender, but because I'd probably mistime a tackle that badly that I'd probably leave a mark on them. I felt like anytime the ball came to me, I had absolutely no time to react or think about what I'm doing. And I just had this fear that I can't lose the ball, or I don't want to lose the ball, rather than trying to express myself and play. And as I started to get into football, something else that I started to get really into were football boots. Now, I was watching countless video reviews on all these different types of boots and their features, boots made of leather, boots made of synthetic, boots made of kangaroo leather, and I wanted to try them all. My 30 quid a week of EMA that I was getting wasn't cutting it, and I didn't really want a summer job either. So what I would do is I hopped on eBay and I would buy them used. If I liked the boots, I would keep them, and if I didn't like them, I would just look to sell them back on. And I guess I knew from having listed the odd thing on eBay, I understood the importance of, just sprucing up your listing a little bit, making sure it's presentable, it's nice, it's well laid out. Because ultimately that's what's going to drive people to bid or make that purchase. And boots were no different. Three things that I really got to pay attention to with eBay listings were the title itself, making sure the full technical name is there. Anything that's part of the name of the boots, I would make sure to stick in there, the full title, along with the sizing in both UK and US sizes, just to get an extra couple of numbers in there. The description itself as to how that's laid out. Often people make the mistake of when they're listing something on eBay, they'll just have it in a regular standard formatting where it's looking like you've just copied and pasted it off of the Notepad app. Most importantly of all these three elements, for me, is that cover photo. That cover photo communicates so much about how much care you've taken care of that listing, the boots themselves, or the item itself. Did the person bother to clean the boots or not before they listed them? You'd be surprised at how many people think it's acceptable to take a photo of muddy boots and think that, you know, that's perfectly fine to ship to someone. The main thing for me was just to recoup the money that I'd spent if I was looking to move a pair of boots along. Then I noticed that in some boots I could make, you know, a £5 profit here and there. Then I started to think, can I be a bit more intentional about this? I remember one time I came across a double listing of a pair of old Mercurials. It was two pairs of Mercurials that, if you know anything about boots, I think Cristiano Ronaldo wore back in his Man United days. One of them had a carbon fibre sole plate and the other one just had a regular sole plate. And then someone who I presume to be the mother of her son, who was listing the boots on his behalf. Two pairs were listed under the one listing. And then one main cover photo had one single pair of boots. And then you had to go into the listing, go to the second photo to see that there's another pair of boots. And in both images, these boots were muddy. They had no box. From having developed this keen eye just from watching reviews, I got to understand that, you know, that one with the carbon fibre sole plate, even if the other one is all right, that carbon fibre one might be worth a wee bit of money. I bought two pairs together, 30 quid, £5 for shipping. They arrived, I really wanted to keep them for myself, but they were a bit too big. I think they were size 11 and a half or 12 and a half, and I fit a 10. So sadly, they didn't fit me, but I thought I can clean them up. With one of them, I had to buy an orange Nike box, along with putting the paper in, and that was like my little technique. The cover photo for me was always the same with a pair of boots. I would have one shoe like this, the other two like that, and that's how they'd be inside the box. The little cover, the little wrapping paper stuff would be just exposed, so you know it's there, but without covering the details of the boots. And then of course showing the Nike box as well, along with everything, like trying to attack all the benefits and keywords in the title along with the description. And then both boots I sold separately. I sold one of them for, I think it was £115 for the ones with the carbon fibre sole at the bottom. And then the other ones, I literally just made the money back. So I think they went for about 30 something pounds. So with that one, I made my money back and the other one was just pure profit. And that is my first foray into photography. That's when I leveraged the skill of using photography as a marketing tactic. Thinking about it, I was combining it with copywriting, the text and how that was being presented with the photos. I wasn't doing it to, you know, properly make money out of it or anything. I was really just doing it to avoid having to get a summer job. And also at the time, I was just generally looking to improve and develop myself in all areas of life, whether that be football, whether that was into the gym, as I was first getting into the gym. I started as a scrawny wee teenager. I was just hitting 6 foot and I was 58 kilos, which is like borderline underweight for that height. And I even remember thinking back to that time, if anyone took a video of me and showed me a video or a photo of me, the immediate thing I would look at is like, look how skinny I am. I wouldn't feel any type of confidence wearing a t-shirt because I was skinny. Some people assume that, oh, it's only fat people or if you're overweight that you have those concerns, but no, skinny people almost equally have those concerns. I would record myself doing sets in the gym. I started to train with the friends, but I also wanted to see areas of improvement that I could identify. And it's one thing when you're under a squat bar and you're looking at yourself in the mirror, and it's another thing to have a completely different third person view perspective. So I really valued just setting up a camera and recording, not for any other intention than for me to watch it back and see what could I do better and what am I doing right. And then with football, it was mainly so that we could look back on it and just watch it. So our typical football routine was playing five-a-side at goals on a Saturday early afternoon. After that, we'd go for a munch with a big group, sometimes get dessert afterwards. And then we talk about, like, you know, the game or any goals that were scored or any embarrassing moments, and just poke fun at each other and just like have a laugh about it. I played a lot of games at the time because I was getting into football quite late. I really just wanted to play any game I could just get myself into. It meant that I was playing with a lot of older guys. I found that the older guys were reminiscing about, back in the day when they were playing. And it did get me thinking a lot. It got me appreciating more the current times when I was young and I was playing. It also gave me the idea that I wanted to start recording games so that I could look it back on it. Now, I knew that the value of this might not be immediate. You might not want to watch this or have any interest in watching a game you just played maybe 5-10 minutes ago. Maybe you do because it's fresh. But I thought, what would the value of this be for us, just for our memories in like 5, 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years, even longer? Imagine being able to show like potentially your kids or grandkids rather than just say, yeah, your dad was a baller back in the day. What if you could just show them clips? Like, I just thought that'd be such a cool idea. And then for you to have a laugh about with your mates as well. That's one of the reasons why I got into recording games. I would stick a tripod like this in the corner of the net, climb up on top of the fence, try and wrap this around the metal bar, stick my phone on it, and then try and get as much of a wide angle view as possible. This took a lot of trial and error to get the angles and stuff right. Sometimes it'd be horribly misaligned and I would miss pretty much the entire game. I didn't realize that this was really getting me into, video and video recording. And again, similar with the gym, I wanted to just look back and just see myself play and seeing where can I improve. I'll tell you one thing, if you've never seen yourself record and playing football and you've only ever had your own experience of first person on the ball, it's a completely eye-opening experience. eBay with the football it's reselling, and football in the gym with form and just wanting to watch games back. That is actually how I got into the world of photography and videography. And just thinking, without the football boots reselling stuff and watching the videos, I wouldn't know anything about a brand like Mizuno over what everyone else wore, like Nike or Adidas. And I was always poked fun at for doing things differently. But sometimes you look back on it and you think a lot of these things were justified. And I'm happy I done things differently. Some things I done differently just for the sake of it. And other things I found, you know what, I'm happy to go against the grain with this one and take flack for it. If you are going to put yourself out there online, you are going to have to develop that thick skin. And it's better to develop that as early as possible. Because a lot of people fear that process of cringe, when they look at it like this will appear cringeworthy to other people. And that will be the thought that they have in their head, rather than looking at the vision of what can this turn into if this is successful. If you speak to many successful people or people who have gone along this path, they're not thinking about the cringe anymore. That's just something that they accept as some people won't like it, and that's it. But you have to understand yourself, why is it that I'm doing what I'm doing? And if you do have a solid image in your head with that, that will drive you way more than the fear that will hold you back. After school, I went to uni. And in uni, I studied civil engineering at a uni not too far away from here, the University of Strathclyde. I was chilling, playing football a lot. I was watching a whole bunch of TV shows. I was keeping up with like about 20 TV shows at the same time. I was barely attending lectures. I was busy just gaming life away at that point, staying up late, having many existential crisis moments when you finished a late night gaming session, you're staring at the ceiling like, what am I doing in my life? Knowing that I'm really not into this course that I'm studying. And I didn't think of it all that much at the time, but afterwards I really understood engineering and the world of engineering really wasn't for me. I almost found that I had too much personality. I wanted to do a lot of things like outside of an office, and the idea of being stuck in an office was very restricting for me as a feeling. And it's no surprise that because I wasn't interested in it, I didn't do well in it. I ended up scraping my way all the way to third year. I think my attendance in third year was around 14%. And in third year, the jump was that big that I wasn't getting by with just scraping it anymore. I failed a couple classes, I failed a reset. So then they told me, you have to do this reset over a year because you don't have enough credits to go to fourth year. And at that point, I thought, I'm just going to go full time with the part-time job that I'm doing. I can't, like, what's the point? If I'm doing one class over a year, I might as well just work. And I thought, oh, I'll deal with the exams and the coursework and that when the time comes. When the time came, I didn't even bother. I didn't bother taking time off to do any coursework or the exams. I think I maybe took a couple of days off. Surprise, surprise, I failed that one class. Now, as an Asian kid with high expecting parents, this honestly felt like the end of the world for me. All my prayers and everything that I would direct my wishes towards were to do really well at uni, do really well at school, may God bring me success in my exams, and I wasn't really looking past much of what I was asking when it came to that. For them to have a sit-down meeting with me and tell me, you know, you're gonna have to find your own way, and then your time here is effectively done. Honestly, it felt like the end of the world. I felt crushed. I then took a moment to just reflect that all these people that I know around me, people in the same course as me, other mates from like our big football group, where there's all these people, mates of mine who are doing different courses and different things in university. Every single one of them is advancing throughout life. And this was the first time that I didn't have an immediate next step. I had no idea what I was doing after this. And I thought, I just need to figure this out. I need to spend a bit of time working. I know that in my head, I need to keep my eye out for any opportunity or see where I can become my own boss. But I had no idea what I was going to be doing. That was 2018. And then the next year, 2019, and the year after that, 2020, you know, something came, something happened. Big bad words, big bad C words, big bad L word, COVID and lockdown. Those came around. And the timing for me was incredibly fortunate. Now, I'd bought this phone for myself, the Huawei P30 Pro. Around the time of a lockdown, empty, dead streets, winter time, so it's pretty much night all the time. So anytime I finished work at like 5 p.m, I'm coming out to pitch black darkness. I just started taking photos of bright lights around the city centre of Glasgow, anywhere where there would be like a bright neon light. So even right now, I'd probably take a photo of the backdrop that you can't really see, but that's illuminating me just now. I started to build up this gallery of images in my phone that were all these bright night photos with different colours. And I really wanted to just do something with it, like share it somewhere or post it somewhere. And I started to find that I had a big like collection of photos in my gallery, like 30, 40 odd photos, all with different colours. And I thought I need a way of like organising how would I order these? And I thought to organise it by colour. So that's what I've done. And then that effectively posting photos on an Instagram page called nightvision.jpg is how I started to really share my work with night photography. I never even thought about the eBay process of taking photos. That never even crossed my mind at any point. I thought this was the first time I'm picking up photography. And I got to really, really enjoy the whole process behind night vision. And you've got to remember what it was like during lockdown. Now, for many things it was great, you know, people were furloughed, people were sat at home and they were getting paid most of their wages and they were just chilling, and then they were playing Warzone, Call of Duty, that was booming at the time, or GTA, or they're watching all these shows or movies. But on the other side, you've got to remember, people were cooped up and stuck in their houses. People's mental health was deteriorating. They weren't going out, not socialising, not having human connection. They were stopped from doing all of that. People were limited to an hour of exercise or essential travel. So a lot of people were miserable. And the news as well wasn't helping this in any way. The news was just this fear-mongering machine that was just churning out, you know, death numbers and death numbers and death numbers. You saw these images of all these rows of hospital beds. I remember the one in Italy, and people were just fear was just getting pumped into people's minds consciously and subconsciously. And then me going out to take photos when the streets were dead and very calm night scenic walks. It was honestly such a refreshing way to calm my mind. I used to do a lot of thinking on these walks, and it done so much good for keeping myself sane. So much of it was calming, because a night can be very erratic, it can be very spontaneous, wild, but night vision was none of those things. Night vision was very calm, very soothing. I could just lose myself in the craft and just spend some time on it and just turn it into something really cool that I could share with the world. And it was really empowering to do that and have people, you know, look forward to your next posts. It really is a nice feeling. And then for people to tell me that when they see my photos hit the feed, that they instantly know without having seen anything about, you know, who posted it, that they know it's mine. They really did get me thinking that a lot of photographers or people in the online sharing space were opting for that orange and teal look. And if you don't know this look, all I can direct you towards is think of Transformers 1. Think of the color palette and people's skin tones and how orange and tanned everyone is, and how the highlights are like that bluish color. Blue and orange being very nice complementary colors. Think of Irn-Bru. And This was a choice that a lot of photographers were opting for. I really just wanted to create something on my own. I wanted to go in a completely new direction, create something cool that people just hadn't seen before. I guess that's what night vision was or became. And at that time when I was starting out with this, 2020, 2021, monetization wasn't something I was really thinking about with it. I thought the money will come later on. I've just got to have fun with this and get really into it. I understood that, if you're not counting the hours, how many hours you're putting into it, and you're really just perfecting the craft, you'll only get better and better, and you can think about monetization after that. And I did get to think, how can I start getting paid for taking these photos? Because often these photos were things like bridges or buildings or cityscapes and skylines and that type of thing. So I had the idea of thinking, you know what, cars, I quite like my cars. I quite like when I've featured a car as a subject in one of these night vision photos. And I thought, who do I know that's got a nice car that I can get a photo of? I had a friend, Daniel, thank you for this. I got him out in his BMW M2 at the time. We done a photo shoot. I was just doing it as a free shoot. I wasn't really asking for anything in return. He, out of kindness and goodness of his heart, decided to pay me for that shoot. That £40 that he sent over, that was the first way I got paid from anything to do with night vision. When you make your first bit of money from doing your own thing, no matter whether it's like a quid, £100 or anything above that, it's such a rewarding feeling that you've put time and effort into something that you think, damn, like internet money. And then from there, I started to work with my first car detailer. Because Daniel, you're gonna have to get called out for this. You didn't wash your car on the day of the shoot, so you took your car in for a detailer the following day. And I guess that was fortunate enough for me that the detailer ended up knowing about this photo shoot that happened the night before. Having seen some of the quick photos that I'd edited and sent over, he wanted to bring me in for a meeting to discuss doing photos for a detailer. And that was my first client. And it all came from offering someone a free shoot. Doing video and offering video, that was probably too far away for me at that point. I had a laptop that was just about running. I had to take out a RAM chip for this to be functioning without turning on and beeping and then turning back off. Man, it was like a Frankenstein project. And it just about handled Photoshop, but not anything to do with video editing. And then through the night vision stuff, as I was just trotting along, posting more and then doing some client work, from a shoot that I'd done with a motorcyclist for his Harley Davidson. Harley Davidson themselves were made aware of that and they saw my work, and then ended up doing a gig with them for the launch of one of their Sportster models. It was the first time that they were doing any type of launch outside the US, and they chose Manchester as a location for that. That forced me to get a new laptop, which my brother ended up gifting me. From there, I was then capable of trying my hand at some video stuff. This bodybuilder that I would see now and then in the gym, I thought I'd just go up to him one day and just offer him a free gym video, just to get myself out there and test myself. Then from there, we arranged the shoot. Of course, people aren't going to turn down a free video typically. Then he messages me a couple of days before the shoot to say, I'm going to be bringing someone along to the video shoot, is that all right? I'm like, makes no difference to me, I'm going to be doing a video anyway. We were doing a video with this guy that he's training, they're training together and he's training him and helping him along. Turns out he's the owner of a supplement company that needs photography and videography services. And that's how I ended up doing work with Spartan Protein. So when they tell you, don't do free work and don't do this and don't do that, I mean, I'm telling you from my own experience, it's landed me clients. Why wouldn't you do it? Drop your ego sometimes. And then from there, I really was just carving it out as a freelancer, photographer and videographer. Ended up quitting a job at the time to try and push this a little bit more. Then I had to go back and work for a social media agency to brush up on my skills a little bit. And then left that to, properly build out an agency of my own. That's basically what I've been building for the past year or so. But with that, I'm finding there's been a growing, harboring frustration within me. And I'm finding that I'm not able to give as much time or anywhere near as much time to making my own personal brand content. And you got to think, an online creator not making content. You see the irony in that? So recently I've had a proper rethink about this. The priority has to be the personal brand. I don't want this big 50-man operation where I'm running like this content factory and I'm managing this team and then we're having like these boardroom meetings and then it becomes a game of, management and what your management skills are like. I didn't get into this for all that. I got into this because I wanted to build something unique and cool. Stuff like this that's not getting produced. Prints that's not available yet to the public. Even though I've had these photos sitting around for 2 to 3 years, recently having to get them off of an old hard drive, that taught me a lesson. If they're on an old hard drive, it means they weren't anywhere near accessible close to me, which is a problem. So now I want to change that. To get people on board with this, I'm gonna have to give something out first for free. I'll be curating a selection of wallpaper packs that you can freely download, and these are designed for your phone lock screen and home screens. Then other more entertainment focused content that I want to get there brings me onto this prop, a GoPro with a head mount. Stemming on from sticking up a tripod in the corner of a goal or the cage in a football pitch, I thought I would try my hands at creating POV football content. I always found it really cool to just watch that footage. It's so immersive. You do get to understand what it's like in the mind of a player a little bit, because especially if it's on a head mount, you can see scans, you can see, where they're looking, and then footwork, and you're able to visualize that a bit better as to how you're moving or how you should be moving. And even that's something that I've got troves of footage of that is yet to see the surface of the internet. And more printed work like this one is something that I really, really need to get there. It's that inner fuel, it's that inner satisfaction and desire, it's that inner hunger, to create something of your own, give something unique to the world, and be rewarded for it. So yeah, this has been a long one, and it doesn't matter to me what the watch time is or attention or anything like that. People get too boiled down and stuck on the metrics rather than some things that can't be quantified, that are, you could simply ask somebody, from watching their content, do you trust them? From watching their content, do you feel they have enough credibility? These sorts of things can't just be measured on metrics like retention. And for me, it does need to be more real, transparent, honest, a bit more uncut, longer. And you might not watch this in one sitting, and I accept that. But this should be the starts of documenting this journey properly. Inshallah, there's more to come. Peace.